It's the 7th year of secretly admiring Maxwell. And I married him. On our wedding night, however, he handed me a divorce agreement. Let's part ways amicably after 1 year. After saying that, he looked at my lace nightgown. He chuckled and asked, "Miss Olivia, is there something on your mind?" Later, the 1-year period was up. "When are we going to the Civil Affairs Bureau?" He pretended not to hear and asked, "Who was that man just now?" I couldn't help but laugh and replied, "Maxwell, is there something on your mind?" I had just become a full-time employee after my graduation internship. Maxwell found me. He asked if I would marry him. It was a marriage of agreement. He promised to give me 10 million yuan after 1 year. One can't turn down money just for the sake of dignity. I was so afraid that if I hesitated for even a second, he would change his mind. It took less than a month from getting the marriage certificate to the wedding night. In the evening, I dressed up specially. Just as I put on my lace nightgown, Maxwell handed me a divorce agreement. Let's part ways amicably after 1 year. He was much more mature than in high school. His appearance was noble and reserved. I was stunned for a moment and asked, "Should I sign it now?" Maxwell seemed to be in a hurry and said, "Just give it to me before the contract expires." I nodded and asked, "Where will you sleep tonight?" The air fell silent. I really wanted to slap myself. Maxwell's movement paused. After a while, he smiled briefly. His gaze dropped in an ambiguous way. "Miss Olivia." He chuckled and asked, "Is there something on your mind?" Following his gaze, I suddenly covered my chest. "Shameless." Maxwell raised his eyebrows and leaned leisurely against the doorframe, as if deliberately teasing me. "On such a wonderful day, shall we sleep together? After all, we are both adults, and with me dressed like this, any man would misunderstand." I was angry and felt guilty. I slammed the door shut. This guy was still the arrogant rascal from high school. After that, I didn't see Maxwell again. I heard that he went on a business trip abroad. Living in a mansion with my husband not at home, I felt quite relaxed. Late at night, the sound of an engine came from downstairs. After 7 months, Maxwell was back. He slept in the guest room. I felt relieved and turned over. Then I suddenly opened my eyes. I drank too much last night and slept in the guest room. I also took out the love letters I wrote to him when I was young and read them. They were still there. The corridor was cold and quiet. I quietly opened the door of the guest room. There was the sound of water in the bathroom. Maxwell was taking a shower. I held my breath and groped around for a few times. I couldn't find the letters. The next second, the bathroom door opened. Maxwell was only wearing gray home pants. His skin was coldly white. The distinct muscle lines on his upper body were still dripping with water. Our eyes met. He said calmly, "Hiding someone?" I glanced at his abs again and replied, "No." Maxwell slowly wiped his hair and asked, "Is there something you need from me?" I made up an excuse. I came to see if you're hiding a woman." Maxwell laughed and said, "If I were hiding a woman, I wouldn't be back tonight." "So, you've been with other women these 7 months?" Realizing I had said the wrong thing, I shut up. But Maxwell wouldn't let me go. His eyes were full of interest, as if joking. "You want to talk about this with me?" I didn't get an explanation. I suppressed the discomfort in my heart and was about to say something. My phone rang. Maxwell put on a short t-shirt and went to the balcony to answer the call. He was speaking English. I didn't care about him. I searched again and then simply lay down and pretended to be asleep. Maxwell would never sleep in the same bed with me. I would look for the letters carefully tomorrow morning. Anyway, I couldn't let him find them first. But in a half-awake and half-asleep state, I felt the bed sink beside me. That night, I had a dream. I dreamed of Maxwell in high school. He was a transfer student from Hong Kong. He had good grades, a good look, and good family conditions. His name was once popular throughout the school. He had a girlfriend. At that time, I didn't know what conflict they had. His girlfriend was crying. Maxwell was holding his school uniform and bending down to coax her helplessly. I stood not far away. I just felt that everything was quiet. Dreams are always absurd. 1 second, I felt sad and depressed. The next second, I dreamed that I was pulling out radishes. Suddenly, the bedroom light turned on. I was still immersed in the dream and murmured, "Why can't I pull it out?" Maxwell took a deep breath and said, "Open your eyes and see what you're doing." I was just about to open my eyes. My wrist was held by a warm palm and moved away. Maxwell got up and went to the bathroom. Before I could say anything, he said coldly, "If you make any more trouble, go sleep on the floor." This guy was really fierce. The next day was the weekend. When I woke up, it was already bright. I touched the side of the bed. It was cold. I slowly finished my breakfast. Maxwell was already waiting for me in the car. We were going to the old mansion today. In the car, we were silent all the way. Finally, I said, "I'm sorry about last night." Maxwell was dealing with work. He glanced at me upon hearing this and asked, "What were you looking for last night?" I paused and then was honest, "Love letters." "Did you write them?" "Yes." Maxwell's indifferent gaze fell on my face. He asked, "Secret love?" My cheeks felt a bit hot. "My high school senior. He's really handsome, okay?" I said this while looking at him. Maxwell sneered briefly, as if he didn't care. I felt like a clown. What was I expecting? "So what, now that we're married?" I looked up in a daze. Maxwell turned his eyes and said teasingly, "Should I sleep between you two?" When getting out of the car, I bravely tugged at his cuff. "We should act the whole way. I want to hold hands." Maxwell's expression didn't change. He was still on the previous topic. "So should I sleep between you two, or what do you want to do?" He was smiling, but I felt there was nothing behind it. It was as if he seemed easygoing, but his heart was cold and lonely. I said, "I'll give you a magnificent funeral." After I said that, Maxwell looked down at me and seemed to really smile. Then, he gently took my hand. Our fingers intertwined. He said in a low voice, "Then you'll have to mourn for me, wife." At the gate of the old mansion, I knew he was acting. He didn't really want to hold my hand. But when I heard the word wife, my heart rate uncontrollably quickened a bit. As soon as we entered the living room, I've been waiting from the beginning of the year to the end. Has the third finally decided to bring his wife back to meet us? Maxwell was the third child in his family. Probably to avoid an arranged marriage, he coincidentally found me and got married directly. Maxwell forced a smile and said, "Mom, I was just afraid of disturbing your peace." "You were probably afraid I'd disturb your peace." The middle-aged woman wearing a shawl sneered and looked at me. "Miss Olivia, come and have a cup of tea." But there was no tea in front of her. It meant I was supposed to make tea for her. I was just about to get up. My wrist was held down. "Is it too much for me to want a cup of tea made by my daughter-in-law?" Maxwell leaned back on the chair, playing with my fingertips. "There are 2 nannies standing beside. Does she have to go?" "Of course not. My wife isn't here to be used." "Stop acting. I fucking like you even more." The children in Maxwell's family are usually very busy. So it's stipulated that everyone must come back to eat and stay overnight on this day every month. The dining table is deserted. I just feel that this family doesn't seem like a real family. It's oppressive and solemn. In the bedroom, I got nervous again. I can sleep in the guest room. That would be a breach of contract on your part. It's written in the contract that if Party B causes others to know that the marriage is fake, Party B shall compensate Party A 5 million yuan. I changed the subject. Do you have a lot of conflicts with your mother? Maxwell hadn't finished his work and replied perfunctorily, have a crush on me? Want to save me? Didn't the woman who accompanied you for 7 months save you? He laughed. If I had someone I liked, why would I marry you? He said he didn't have anyone he liked at the moment. I felt a bit disappointed. I opened my mouth. Suddenly, everything went dark in front of my eyes. Later, I heard that it was because the second son and his wife next door had a quarrel. A cup of water was knocked over and poured into the socket, causing a power outage on the entire second floor. At that time, I was so scared that I sat on Maxwell's lap. It's not like I'm at a disadvantage. I just wanted to get close to him. I'm so scared. Maxwell's expression paused for a moment. I'm even more scared. The room was dimly lit. What are you afraid of? His voice was teasing. I'm afraid of losing both money and beauty. This person has been in the socializing field for so many years. He's so perceptive of people's minds. It seems like he can see through my feelings for him. I pretended not to understand. So why did you marry me? Maxwell showed no emotion. He casually placed his arm on my knee. Be good. I needed someone obedient and I was short of money. When was I short of money? Thinking of something, I didn't explain. I saw his brows furrowed. I guessed his next sentence would be, if you make any more trouble, you'll sleep on the floor tonight. Maxwell. Do you believe that I can guess what you're thinking? We were very close. I could almost feel each other's breath. Maxwell lifted his eyelids, and his gaze swept across my lips. Then guess if I dare. By the moonlight. His eyes were very dark. I could see myself in his eyes. I whispered, you probably dare. Maxwell seemed not to expect me to say that. His fingertips gently tapped my knee. After a while, his Adam's apple bobbed slightly, and he casually looked away. No condom. Only then did I realize we were talking about different things. Finally, the lights came on. I stood up in a panic. My palms were a bit sweaty. Rogue. After saying that, I fled into the bathroom like a scared rabbit. When I came out again, Maxwell was still in front of the computer. The cuffs of his white shirt were rolled up, and his profile was sharp and handsome. It seemed like he had forgotten what had just happened. I felt uneasy. Late at night, everything was quiet. We were sharing the same bed and pillow again. He came out of the bathroom after taking a shower. I subconsciously pulled the quilt. Don't worry. I won't touch you. His tone was very indifferent. I didn't know if it was to make me feel at ease or to make me give up the thought. Angry, I turned my back to him and refused to look at him. Turn off the light. I'm not used to it being so bright. Maxwell was quite obedient. You go to sleep first. I snorted. Don't worry. I won't touch you either. Yeah, but you might not be able to control yourself when you're asleep. My ears turned red instantly. I recalled the feel from last night. It seemed a bit hard to hold. Maxwell always seemed to be very busy. He came back late, and most of the time I was already asleep. On the phone, my best friend was exasperated. You're sharing a bed with a handsome guy. How can you fall asleep? I whispered, he doesn't seem to like me. Otherwise? If he liked you, he would have pounced on you on the wedding night. You need to develop feelings, and maybe even have a baby over time. Got it? I hung up the phone. She was right. Since I can't win his heart, I must at least have him physically. I was so lost in thought. The department head stopped me. These are the documents Maxwell asked me to send. Olivia, would you please run an errand for me? Thanks a lot. After saying that, he stuffed the materials into my arms and left. Over the years, I've been down and out many times. I took a deep breath. As soon as I get the 10 million yuan, I'll resign immediately. The place is in the hotel opposite. I might even be able to see Maxwell. I counted the room numbers. A woman opened the door. A woman wrapped in a bath towel. Probably seeing me holding the documents, the woman said understandingly, "My boyfriend went out for something. Are you his employee?" At that moment, I forgot what I was feeling. I nodded blankly, handed over the things, and turned around to leave directly. My steps were unsteady. My mind went blank. I wanted to call and ask something. But I realized that I didn't seem to have the right to interfere in his private life. After all, the marriage was just a fake one. I felt so sad that I wanted to cry. I went to a bar and hired 2 male models. Only then did I feel a bit better. My best friend couldn't come due to an emergency. She advised me on the phone to drink less and not to let things get out of hand when I went back at night. I couldn't hear anything. My phone lit up again. Maxwell asked, "Where are you?" I pretended not to see it. But after a few seconds, I still replied, "Working overtime. Thanks for your hard work." He was quite considerate. My eyes became a bit hot. I typed viciously, "You'd better know that." "Well, shall I come and offer you a toast?" I suddenly looked up. The neon lights were flickering in front of me. I let out a sigh of relief. Maxwell was in the arms of another woman. There was no way he could be here. As I retracted my gaze, I casually glanced to the side. My eyes met those of a man not far away. Maxwell was standing in the shadows, with a red tip of a cigarette between his fingers. He was dressed in a suit, tall and long-legged. He raised his hand and took a puff of the cigarette. Through the smoke, his gaze landed on me indifferently. At that time, I had a male model sitting on each side of me, one pouring wine and the other feeding me fruit. In a daze, Maxwell casually extinguished the cigarette and walked towards us slowly. The male model, seeing that the newcomer seemed unfriendly, said, "Tsk, who is he? He looks so fierce." For a moment, I didn't know how to explain. The male model continued relentlessly, "Aren't we enough for you? You've ordered another one? Tsk, say something, Tsk. Maxwell glanced sideways. "Try calling out one more time." The male model was so scared that he shrank his neck and stopped talking. I stood up awkwardly. My head was a bit dizzy. "Let's go home." Maxwell seemed to be watching a show. "Where will I sleep this time?" "Don't worry. You don't have to sleep in the middle." He was so angry that he laughed. "Am I being given a break, is that it?" With a cold face, he grabbed my wrist the next second and walked towards the door. I struggled, getting angry too. I directly said, "Are you the only one allowed to have a girlfriend? Am I not allowed to have some fun? You have to allow me to make mistakes too." What a good excuse of making mistakes. He frowned. "What girlfriend? She was already done showering and waiting for you." My phone rang. Maxwell answered it smoothly. At the same time, he paid the bill for me, and even paid for the male models. He's really nice and generous. After hanging up the phone, he sent a message on the screen before looking at me. "Who taught you this ability to be unreasonable?" I got into the car. "Who on earth is being unreasonable?" Maxwell sighed inwardly. He didn't want to argue with me. "You're drunk. Stop making trouble." My phone rang again. It was my department head. I just picked up the phone when I heard the other person yelling angrily, "I asked you to deliver a document to room 913. Where did you send it?" "The partner is still waiting in the conference hall." Maxwell is already urging. If you don't want to work here, you can leave tomorrow. I was already in a bad mood and had been drinking. Without thinking, I said, you clearly asked me to send it to. Only know how to shirk responsibility and work, you bastard. After saying that, my tone paused. It seemed like I had misunderstood something. The person on the other end of the phone was obviously a bit confused. Olivia, you're really something. I ask you to do one thing, and you throw a tantrum. If I were Maxwell, I would fire you on the spot. I impulsively said, he's right next to me. You talk to him. I turned on the speakerphone. My head was dizzy, and I leaned against the car window, closing my eyes to rest. The voice of the person next to me was deep and pleasant. In a hazy state, it was like a dream. I only heard him say, if you talk to her in that tone again, I think you can pack up and leave. It started to rain. When I woke up, I was already home. I didn't open my eyes, and Maxwell didn't wake me up either. He held me around the waist and picked me up. His chest was warm with a hint of moisture. I couldn't help but open my eyes a little. I looked at him quietly, and somehow I thought of him in high school. The moments of passing by each other in the cafeteria, on the playground, and even at the grocery store. I've remembered them for so many years. Probably my gaze was too intense, as if I was looking at someone else through him. Maxwell suddenly stopped in his tracks. He looked down. Who are you looking at? My face was flushed, and I murmured, the person I like. The fingertips on my waist tightened for a moment. Maxwell's eyes turned cold. He might have thought of the love letter I was looking for last time. He put me on the bed, pinched my chin, and forced me to look at him directly. Olivia. Yeah. Look clearly, he said in a deep voice. I'm not him. The memories of last night's hangover were fragmented. Maxwell got up half an hour earlier than me. He was washing up and changing clothes. Neither of us spoke first. It was like we were in a silent war for no reason. I asked about the business matter. What should we do about the document that was sent to the wrong place last night? Is it important? Maxwell was tying his tie. In the morning light, his face looked even more handsome. Some people can provide emotional value just by standing there. He said, it's the project promotion plan. It's okay. I felt relieved. Maxwell glanced at me. Don't you have anything else to say? Thinking of the awkward situation last night due to the misunderstanding. I shook my head and wanted to leave. No. As we passed by each other, he grabbed my arm for a moment. He sighed and said, I won't let you down during the marriage. It took me a few seconds to react. I was afraid he would bring up the matter of me hiring male models. Got it. I'll go downstairs first. But Maxwell wouldn't let me go. He thought I was still angry. Really, I don't have a girlfriend. His eyes were dark and deep. His tone was coaxing. My thoughts slowed down, and I suddenly felt a bit envious of the girl who had occupied his youth. This person was gentle and mild, tender and restrained. Falling in love with him would probably be a delightful thing. Are you explaining to me? Maxwell paused. He also wanted to ask, what do you think? We stared at each other in silence. He was still looking at me, and I didn't know what he was thinking. I felt extremely uncomfortable, so I asked, what are you thinking? Maxwell leaned against the wardrobe, and a corner of his lips twitched for a moment. I'm thinking whether you like to kiss people randomly when you're drunk. I didn't kiss him last night, did I? Ethan, the department head, seemed to have found out something extraordinary. Today, he showed concern and brought me 2 cups of hot drinks to apologize. I didn't want to talk to him. I spent the whole day thinking, but couldn't figure out when I had ever kissed Maxwell. That night, there was a dinner party. The partner was treating. Since I was involved in the project, I was naturally on the invitation list. Maxwell arrived late. He happened to sit next to me. Ethan was an opportunist. He tried to build a relationship with me by drinking. The partner teased him, asking if he had a crush on me, being so attentive. Ethan shook his head repeatedly and glanced at Maxwell. Olivia has a boyfriend. I was taken aback. Not wanting to be misunderstood further, I explained, no, I'm single. After I said that, there was a half-second of silence at the dinner table. Then the conversation and laughter resumed. The partner tried to smooth things over and said, young people these days are focused on their careers, and they get married late. Maxwell should hurry up. He's almost 30. Another day, I'll introduce my daughter to you. Maxwell didn't react much throughout. He just smiled and said, sorry, I'm married. In an instant, some people were surprised, and some were confused. Ethan belonged to the latter group. The way he looked at me changed constantly. Finally, it turned into disdain. We had a secret agreement not to make our fake marriage public. Now, something felt off. But I couldn't quite figure out what was wrong. I secretly glanced at him and sent him a message on my phone. Maxwell, what do you mean? The screen lit up, and Maxwell looked at his phone. But he didn't seem to be going to open the message. I was so anxious that I nudged him with my knee. Maxwell finally replied to me out of kindness. I don't want to meet his daughter. So that was it. I lowered my eyes. Okay. The next second, a new message popped up on my phone. Maxwell said, I'm married. Single people, don't talk to me. This person was so strange. I was particularly quiet during that meal. After the meal, I went to the bathroom. On the way, I met a high school classmate. We walked side by side to the hotel entrance and chatted and laughed for a while. The luxury car by the roadside seemed to be getting impatient. It honked the horn. I finally said goodbye to my old classmate and quickly got into the car. Maxwell glanced out of the window and said softly, so happy? I was sending a message to my best friend, telling her that I had met the boy she liked in high school. I nodded perfunctorily. Yeah, my high school classmate. Is he the one you wrote the love letter to? My fingertips froze slightly. It's not him. Why? Maxwell had no expression. Cheating is a breach of contract. You know that, right? I nodded again. I know. Maxwell fell silent. After a long silence. Suddenly, he asked, did you marry me because I look like the person you like? I was stunned. It was hard to say yes or no. I had a bold idea. Maxwell. What? Are you jealous? Maxwell seemed to have heard something interesting. Just asking casually. He didn't look at me. His gaze was fixed outside the window. His tone was casual. Everything was self-evident. I felt a bit humiliated. At night, we shared the same bed and nothing happened. I felt quite at ease with Maxwell now. As I was about to fall asleep, someone rubbed my face. I frowned and opened my eyes. Maxwell was propping himself up. He asked, I don't understand. Why were you so happy when talking to him? I didn't quite understand. What's wrong with you? Maxwell looked a bit annoyed. Seconds later, he turned off the light. It's okay. Go to sleep. The night is long, and many dreams come. That night, I dreamed of Maxwell again. I dreamed of our first encounter. During the final exam, my class was his examination room. He sat in my seat. I deliberately placed the textbook with my name on the desktop. As soon as the exam ended, I rushed back to the classroom. As expected, he had put the textbook into my desk for me. He should know my name by now. The classroom was noisy. Maxwell, looking as if he had just woken up, had lazy eyes and brows. He slowly stood up. I wasn't sure if he had looked at me. He asked, "What did you put here? It smells so nice." I remembered. It's an artemisia leaf sachet. I was stunned for a moment. Recently, I had trouble sleeping and used this sachet to help me fall asleep during lunch breaks. I quickly said, "It helps with sleep. Did it affect your exam?" Maxwell smiled and rubbed his stiff neck. "It's okay." After saying that, a friend at the door called him away. We passed by each other silently. I kept replaying his words in my mind. My eyes were fixed on his profile as he talked and laughed with his friend in the corridor. As if sensing my gaze, he turned his eyes to look at me. I lowered my head in a panic. The conversations around me were intermittent. Someone asked, "Sophia has finished the exam too, right? Why didn't Maxwell go to wait for her? Be careful, or she'll get angry, and you'll be in trouble." Maxwell's tone was very soft. "We broke up." "Damn, who brought it up?" The voices faded away. I'm not naturally an active and enthusiastic person. My mother said that if a boy likes you, he will take the initiative. Life is long. At that time, studies were more important than anything else. Many things were not worth mentioning. I stood there. It had just rained, and the damp and fishy smell of the floor tiles mixed with the fragrance of jasmine. I just felt a sense of emptiness and oppression in my chest. When I woke up, it was still dark. There was a steady breathing sound by my ear. The person who had barely spoken a few words in the dream was now sleeping beside me. I gently turned my head and, by the dim light, looked at the man's cheekbones. Who was he dreaming about? Maxwell and I had different working hours. Naturally, we didn't go to the company together the next day. As soon as I arrived at my workstation, I always felt that someone was secretly looking at me. After asking a close colleague, I learned that it had spread in the company this morning that I was interfering in the boss's marriage. I didn't need to think to know who had spread it. Before I could find him, Ethan came to me first and threw a document heavily. "Take a look for yourself. If it hadn't been discovered in time by the higher-ups, how much money would the company have to lose because of you? I didn't do this data. If you didn't do it, then who did? Think it over carefully. Figure out how to explain it to the manager later." I was confused for a moment and also started to doubt myself. After carefully looking at the document for a while, I looked up. "This is a project you personally handled. Now that there's a problem, you're trying to shift the blame to me. Ethan, that's not appropriate, is it?" Ethan sneered coldly and sized me up. "How long have you been in the company? It's obvious that you like the boss and are acting as his mistress. Now you're feeling superior, aren't you?" His voice wasn't low, attracting the attention of many people around. I didn't want my colleagues to know that I was married because it would be hard to explain when we got divorced. For now, I could only deny it. "Who said I like him? I have nothing to do with Maxwell," I said, "and I won't take the blame for this project, even if it goes to Maxwell." As soon as I finished speaking, the next second, "What are you talking about?" The voice was familiar. Maxwell was standing at the office door. I felt nervous instantly. When did he come? How much had he heard? Ethan reacted first. He smiled obsequiously, like a bully who fears the strong and picks on the weak. "Maxwell, I was just joking with my colleague." Maxwell walked over and casually flipped through the problematic document. "I really have nothing to do with Miss Olivia." He didn't look at me. "We'll have a meeting and vote later." It was a vote on layoffs. Ethan had a lot of petty tricks behind the scenes. He exploited interns and took credit from colleagues. He was already notorious. As a result, when he packed his things and left the company in the afternoon, no one even offered a polite word of comfort. That day, I was extremely happy. I calculated the date. Today was the day to go back to the old mansion. After hesitating for a few seconds, I sent a message. Are we going back to Mom's today? The reply came quickly. Yes. Then wait for me after work. What's our relationship? Why should I wait for you? This person really held grudges. Looking at these words, I somehow sensed some other meaning. Just as I was about to type, "Excuse me, is Maxwell in the company?" The voice was delicate. I looked up. I knew her. She was Maxwell's girlfriend in high school. The receptionist explained to her that she couldn't go upstairs without an appointment. I thought it had nothing to do with me, and was about to leave. But Sophia called me. She walked over, with a smile on her lips. "I know you. You got into Maxwell's car that night." She looked gentle. "Are you very close?" They say that liking someone is hard to hide. During college, Maxwell had a project base ride at University A, which was related to my major. I met him a few times occasionally. Some friends noticed something and gossiped, asking if I liked Maxwell. As an introverted person, I couldn't be honest. My first reaction was always to deny it. Now I was silent and asked, "Do you have something urgent to see him about?" Sophia looked a bit embarrassed. "It's not really urgent. He might still be angry with me, so I had to come to the company to find him. You should know that he pursued me first. We dated twice. I'm his only ex-girlfriend. I naturally knew that. They broke up near the end of high school, got back together in college, but their long-distance relationship didn't last long, and they broke up again. But who asked you?" I realized that she did it on purpose. She wasn't just talking to me, but also to everyone in the company. I remained calm. "Well, I have to go and get busy." Sophia called me again. "Please tell Maxwell that I'm waiting for him here." My good mood turned bad again. Even when looking at the last message Maxwell sent, I felt he was mocking me. It was time to get off work. I deliberately delayed. Unexpectedly, I ran into Maxwell in the elevator. There were eyes everywhere in the company. I subconsciously moved away from him. I kept a distance from him even after getting out of the elevator. Maxwell couldn't keep up the act anymore. "Olivia. Ah? Am I some kind of shameful thing? Why objectify himself like that?" I moved my lips. "Your ex-girlfriend is waiting for you." Maxwell seemed not to have heard. He really seemed to be angry. "What are you making a fuss about?" Before I could finish, Sophia called his name not far away. I felt a bit redundant standing there. Unexpectedly, he grabbed my wrist. Maxwell led me past her. He looked even colder. I was being led along like a waist pendant. I looked around anxiously. "Maxwell, people will see us." "You're crazy." Maxwell didn't stop walking. "I'm really crazy." We walked until we reached the parking lot. Sophia followed us. She glanced at our clasped hands with red eyes, and her voice was nasal. "You don't answer my calls or reply to my messages. And now, you don't need to deliberately anger me. I won't give up." Maxwell laughed upon hearing this. Sophia composed herself again. "I'm sorry. I get carsick easily. Could you please sit in the back seat?" She said this while looking at me gently. She was so gentle that I almost fell in love with her. Before I could say anything, I was stuffed into the passenger seat. I felt so pathetic. Maxwell closed the door and glanced at Sophia at the same time. "If you get carsick, don't take the car." The journey was silent. At a red light, Maxwell stopped the car. I didn't know she would come to the company. I let out an "oh." Maxwell frowned and waited for 2 seconds. "Don't you have anything else to ask?" I thought about it. I actually knew something about their affairs. When Maxwell got back together with Sophia in his freshman year of college, I was only a sophomore in high school. At that time, I heard from people who knew him that on Sophia's birthday, he returned to the country alone without telling anyone. Probably he wanted to give her a surprise, but he ran into Sophia coming back from watching a movie with a guy. No, I said. Maxwell seemed to be extremely angry, with a sense of pent-up frustration. Tell me about yourself. What? Do you have any contact with that senior? He was referring to the senior I had a crush on. I suppressed the corners of my mouth that wanted to smile. Yes, I do. The green light came on. A car shot out like an arrow, full of pent-up emotion. Maxwell had a meeting the next day. The old mansion was far from the company, so we didn't stay overnight. On the way, I suddenly felt listless. I was afraid of the cold and wanted to sleep. When I got home, I found out I had a fever. The cold came suddenly. I watched him wring out a towel and place it on my forehead. The veins on the back of his hand were slightly prominent, which made me have all sorts of thoughts. I turned my eyes away, and my face felt even hotter. Thank you. Maxwell touched my palm. Do you feel uncomfortable? I shook my head. Not really. Maxwell didn't say anything. He looked at me and asked again, is he really that good? The topic changed too quickly. My mind was slow, and sleepiness was overwhelming me. I curved my lips. Yeah, he's the best. Maxwell had long since lost his temper. He sat aside and looked at the person on the bed for a long time. Finally, he got up. His downcast eyes accidentally landed on a pink letter in the crack of the bedside cabinet. It was the love letter this girl had been looking for. He bent down and slowly picked it up. It was already opened. It's quite shameless to peek at someone else's letter. But he was never a person who cared about such things. He wanted to see how good that guy was. The first line that caught his eye was, Dear classmate Maxwell from Class 1, Senior 3, hello. It took me a long time to finish writing this love letter. Unfortunately, after the college entrance examination, Maxwell didn't attend the class reunion or the farewell party. He never showed up at school again. So I never got to send it. This was how I wrote it. Dear classmate Maxwell from Class 1, Senior 3, hello. I'm Olivia from Class 3, Junior 1. You probably don't know me. But I've known you for a long time. On the stage of the opening ceremony, you said you would engage in the field of artificial intelligence development in the future. The teacher asked what would happen if artificial intelligence replaced humans in the future and ordinary people couldn't make a living. It didn't seem like a good thing. You said that you had the ability to start companies in multiple fields to enable more people to have enough to eat. Do you know? I want to be like you. I like you like this. It's so straightforward. Please don't laugh at me. I heard that you're going to study in the United States. I don't feel comfortable disturbing you. I don't dare to take the initiative to get to know you either. I hope everything goes smoothly for you, you achieve academic success, and stay safe. Although my grades are a bit inconsistent now, but I will try my best to keep up with your footsteps. And also, you look a million times better than anyone else in your school uniform. When I woke up, my fever had already gone down. There were voices in the living room. It was Maxwell's sister. She had just returned from studying abroad and didn't have enough pocket money, so she came to ask her brother for money. At the dinner table, Maxwell touched my forehead and felt relieved. I've asked for leave for you. Stay home and rest for 2 days. I nodded and noticed that the tips of his ears were a bit red. What's wrong with you? Maxwell looked at me, as if he was suddenly distracted. What did you say? His sister answered for me impatiently. Sister-in-law said she wants to spend the money you earn. I was stunned. I didn't. Look closely. Someone is about to show off. Maxwell handed me a card. There's no limit. Just swipe it. Maybe as a husband, he wasn't that considerate. But the way he handed me the card was so thoughtful. While I was still in a daze, his sister leaned close to my ear. "Third sister-in-law, you have to split half of this money with me." During that period, it was the company's anniversary. Many partners sent flowers and gifts to Maxwell. Probably there were too many to store. Maxwell directly had them sent to me. I didn't pretend either. I accepted everything. There's no point in refusing free stuff. The relationship between us was also spreading like wildfire in the company. Some people even said that I was on leave because I was hurt by Maxwell's roughness. There were so many rumors that I was too lazy to say anything. That day was Emma's birthday. We went back to the old mansion again. In the car, I was playing with the gift I had just received today, a pink diamond necklace. Maxwell seemed to be in a good mood too. "Do you like it?" I nodded. "Yes, I do. How do these people know how to choose such nice gifts?" Maxwell smiled. "As long as you like it." The old mansion was brightly lit today. Emma had set up a banquet. But there was still little conversation at the main table. Emma asked, "Is the third son busy recently?" Maxwell neither said he was busy nor that he wasn't. "What's up?" Emma still maintained that haughty demeanor. "If you're too busy, merge your business back. Let the eldest and the second son help you manage it together." Merging into the Maxwell group also meant that Maxwell would be back under her control. Maxwell sneered, and slowly took a sip of tea. I realized something and tugged at his sleeve under the table. Then, he held my hand, interlaced his fingers through mine, and clasped them tightly. "Mom, it's your birthday. Are you daydreaming?" The dining table fell silent. Among all the children, only Maxwell dared to oppose her. Emma was left in an awkward position. She sat upright, and after a while, she said, "Old Lou, show the irrelevant people out." Maxwell seemed used to this. No need to bother. I didn't dare to say a word and got up to follow him. Maxwell held my hand and left indifferently under the gaze of many people. I later found out that Emma was infertile. But the wealthy family needed heirs. The 3 sons and 1 daughter in Maxwell's family were all born to women outside that Emma allowed Maxwell's late father to have children with. Emma brought them all back one by one and made them recognize their ancestors and return to the clan. After that, she disciplined them strictly. It was as if she hadn't stepped out of a fallen dynasty. She arranged everything for them, including their studies, marriages, and even every word they said. Since their birth, the children didn't know what mistakes they had made. They just lived in this big mansion like this. But Maxwell refused to be controlled. During his rebellious period, Emma was so angry that she sent him to a friend in the mainland, and thus he attended an ordinary high school. On the way back, Maxwell didn't let go of my hand. He seemed to be trapped in some gloomy mood. I bit my lip, wanting to say something. I saw a familiar figure standing by the roadside near the residential security. Maxwell naturally saw it too, but there was no visible emotional fluctuation in his eyes. "Wait for me a moment," he said. Sophia burst into tears as soon as she saw Maxwell getting out of the car. "Maxwell." Maxwell leaned against the car body, lowered his head to light a cigarette, and then slowly raised his eyes. "After all these years, you've learned to stalk?" Sophia didn't deny it. "I'm sorry." Maxwell scoffed coldly and was silent for a moment. "I remember we broke up, quite amicably. When we were in a long-distance relationship and you wanted to get back together, you couldn't resist and hooked up with someone who could accompany you to nightclubs. We're all adults. I've told you that once you make a choice, don't regret it." Sophia didn't expect him to bring up the matter so openly. Maxwell. I just miss you so much. Maxwell glanced at the sky. He was running out of patience. They say an ex should be like dead. I'm married now. The past is the past. I respect you, and you should respect me too. He left it at that. Sitting in the car, I could hear every word of their conversation. I knew it. The man I fell for is definitely normal. He won't be entangled in messy relationships. He's truly an excellent person. When we got home, I thought of the missing love letter. I decided to confess to him in the original way. Maxwell watched me walking around, flipping through the pillows one moment and bending down to look under the bed the next. Finally, he pulled me to sit down. To be precise, he pulled me to sit on his lap. My heart was pounding wildly. Have you been drinking? Maxwell shook his head. Are you afraid? I shook my head too. Didn't you break up with her a long time ago? Maxwell smiled silently. I'm asking if you're afraid of my family. I thought about it seriously. I married you, not your mother. Maxwell didn't say anything, just looking at me. His gaze was low and gentle, like water pouring straight into the bottom of my heart. His hand landed on my waist. It rubbed against me subtly for a moment. It was completely quiet around us. 1 second, 2 seconds. Our lips were only a fraction apart. I wasn't ready and instinctively dodged for a moment. I cursed myself in my heart. How spineless. What are you dodging for? Maxwell also came back to his senses, but his gaze was still fixed on me. I couldn't stand his gaze. I'm going to take a shower. After saying that, I fled in a hurry. Entering the bathroom, I patted my face in front of the mirror. It was burning hot. I cursed myself again. The next second, the door opened. Maxwell walked in. I turned around instinctively. His kiss came crashing down. He held my waist and lifted me to sit on the sink. His other hand cupped my cheek, and he tilted his head to kiss me. Our lips and tongues intertwined, and our breaths grew deeper. The heat was scorching. So this was what it felt like to kiss him. It made my face blush and my heart race, with a continuous throb. I don't know how long it had passed. Maxwell slowly released me. His lips were glistening with my saliva. He asked hoarsely, "Can we do it?" I knew he was reserved, but I didn't know he was this reserved. He even asked about this. I blushed and tried to push him away. But my wrist was held again, and our fingers intertwined. He smiled slightly and lowered his head to kiss me again. From the bathroom to the bed, my knees were pushed apart. My nose was filled with his pleasant scent. Drought. Stream. He withdrew his hand. His kisses were delicate and dense, from my earlobe to my neck. In a daze. Maxwell, don't bite. Don't rub. We spent the whole night making love. And we did it again in the morning. He had an important meeting to attend. He kissed my glabella and told me to go on sleeping. When I woke up again, it was already noon. My mind was blank. My cheeks turned red again. I turned on my phone. The screen showed that the money had arrived. I almost forgot. The agreement signed before marriage. The 1-year period will be up next month. He's really nice. He settled the payment in advance. After Maxwell finished a meeting, he felt like the sky had fallen. The CFO, who was a friend who started the business with him, was standing in the office. Maxwell stared at his unresponsive phone. You should have at least told me in advance. The other person looked innocent. Didn't you say she was short of money and wanted to transfer the money in advance? I specifically took care of this early in the morning. I also reminded you, what if she ran away as soon as she received the money? Of course I'll run. Why would I stay? I couldn't stay at home anymore. I went to my best friend's milk tea shop to help out. People who didn't know might think I was working 2 jobs. In my spare time, I thought about the balance on my phone. I rubbed my sore waist. I didn't suffer a loss, did I? But my heart couldn't stop hurting. My best friend handed me a tissue. "You little brat, you have such good luck. Why are you crying?" I sniffed. "Do you think I'm too realistic? If you were realistic, you'd be grinning from ear to ear right now." I actually laughed. She made me laugh. The book says that for a good life and an excellent woman, one should be strong, rational, work hard, stay away from love, and be cautious about marriage. But I'm often strong, and often I really need someone to be with me. I'm often rational, and often I'm impulsive enough to want to turn the world upside down. Especially after starting work, I think about quitting my job 28 days out of 30. Whether I actually quit or not, I just keep having that thought. It's very hard for me to fall for someone new, because the person I like is truly the best. I want to have a happy ending with the person I like. Isn't that what a good life is all about? My phone was on silent. When I turned it on, I found 7 missed calls from Maxwell. The phone rang again. I picked up directly and said straightforwardly, "I've signed the divorce agreement you gave me, and left it on the table at home." Maxwell didn't rush to speak. After a few seconds, he asked, "When did I give you what agreement?" Just then, a customer came to place an order. I hung up the phone first. I knew the person in front of me. He was an employee from the company upstairs. He came here often and was very friendly, always trying to chat with me for a while. My best friend suddenly nudged me with her elbow. She motioned for me to look outside. I casually looked up. Maxwell was standing by the roadside, leaning against his car. He was polite enough not to come in and disturb. He just stood there leisurely, waiting for me to notice him. After I finished the work in the shop, I washed my hands and went out to meet him. "Why are you here?" My tone wasn't friendly. Maxwell slowly stood up straight. "If I didn't come, my wife would run away." He glanced at my work uniform. "Aren't you tired?" For some reason, I thought of last night. I said impulsively, "How dare you ask? When are we going to the Civil Affairs Bureau?" "I'm available anytime." Maxwell pretended not to hear and instead asked, "Who was that guy just now?" My thoughts came to a halt. I stared at him for a while, then asked awkwardly, "Maxwell, is there something on your mind?" This time, he didn't pretend to be deaf. Maxwell looked at me as if to say, "Isn't it obvious?" and said, "Otherwise? You said you liked me in the love letter, but you say you don't like me now." I thought about it all night. I was afraid you'd think I was shallow, always trying to send you flowers and diamonds. "Can't you tell I'm trying to court you?" I blinked slowly, trying to digest his words. Some of the gifts were still on my workstation, unopened. I couldn't quite describe my feelings. It was as if my 17-year-old self was pounding on a drum wildly in my heart, with echoes. I slowly frowned. You found my love letter, not only didn't tell me, but also read it? How could a person do such a thing? I realized later that I had been unilaterally giving him the cold shoulder, and now I was the one in an awkward position. But the next day, Maxwell called again. "Shall we have dinner together?" I pursed my lips. "What are we having?" Maxwell thought for a moment. "I put the love letter on your table." It was already time to get off work. Everyone in the office had left. When I came back from the bathroom, I indeed saw a letter lying on the table. When I opened it, it wasn't the one I wrote. The handwriting was bold and strong. "Dear classmate Olivia from Class 3, Junior 1. I'm Maxwell, 28 years old. I'm sorry it took me so long to reply to your letter. I've started several companies now. I hope I haven't let you down. You don't have to follow anyone's footsteps. I don't want you to be too tired. Just be yourself, and that's perfect. By the way, I didn't know you at first. But now I've married you. We got married in a hurry. I was busy with the company's listing abroad at that time. I didn't have the chance to officially confess my love to you. Both of my biological parents have passed away. My last relationship was 4 years ago. Now my work is stable. I can cook, and I don't have any bad habits. I won't let you suffer. Please don't worry. Of course, there's one most important thing that I want to tell you in person. The phone wasn't hung up. There was the sound of static and my own heartbeat. In my ear, his deep and magnetic voice said, "Olivia, I like you." I turned around numbly. Maxwell was standing at the door behind me. He put down his phone and looked at me with a smile. I felt tears rolling down from the corners of my eyes. Maxwell walked closer and gently hugged me. "I want to be with you forever. Is that okay?" "There's no agreement. I just want to be with you wholeheartedly." His voice was sincere and a bit tentative. I wanted to cry and laugh at the same time. After a long while, I said softly, "Actually, you don't have to court me." Maxwell smiled and seemed to let out a sigh of relief. After a while, "I really lost both money and beauty this time," he said, resting his chin on my neck and sighing as if he was willing. "I even bet my whole life on it." I patted his arm. "Don't be a rascal." It was warm in his arms. My heart was full. I knew this was what it felt like to have one's wish come true. A rare thing in life. Fortunately, there was no one in the office. Maxwell kissed me for a long time. I thought of something and asked, "Maxwell, what if I hadn't taken your money and hadn't agreed to marry you back then? Would I have missed out on him for the rest of my life?" Maxwell pecked my lips again. His eyes and brows were gentle. He said, "Then I would have found another way." Epilogue. Emma said she was going to move to the mainland to settle down. Even if she moved to settle in the Pacific Ocean, it had nothing to do with Maxwell. At that time, he had just returned from the United States. Emma used all kinds of excuses to make him go home and meet the person she arranged for him to marry. He just pretended not to hear. One day, he was having dinner with a friend. He met Olivia. The girl seemed to know his friend. She nodded and said hello. Her gaze swept gently over him. Maxwell looked at her back for a few more seconds. His friend introduced, "She's an officer in my external publicity department. She's very active at work. Do you know her?" He shook his head. "She looks familiar." That's a pretty cliché way to strike up a conversation. It was all just a joke. Maxwell didn't take it to heart. She really did look familiar. Later, he remembered. During a high school exam. Because of this girl's sachet, he slept through the whole exam. He got 48 points in Chinese. When Emma found out, she scolded him sarcastically over the phone the whole time. During that period, he was busy with his startup. He didn't have the time or energy to think about women. The next time he saw her was still in a restaurant. She was drunk. She was going to the bathroom alone. It was quite dangerous. He stood in the corridor, planning to leave after she came out and went back to her private room. But she walked straight towards him. Maxwell stood up a bit straighter, about to say something. She stood on tiptoe and kissed him. She held his face roughly and slurred, "My name is Olivia. Remember that." He was taken advantage of for no reason. He didn't want to argue about it either. But he did remember her name. During that period, the company had a cooperation project with University A. He often went to the school for exchanges. He was busy during the day, so he always went at night. His friend said that Olivia had visited the project base in the afternoons these days. He kept that in mind. He somehow managed to make time to come here in the afternoon. But he never met her. Finally, he ran into her one day. His friend joked and asked her if she liked him. She got very anxious immediately and tried to distance herself, saying, "What are you talking about? How could I? I don't even know him." If she didn't like him, why get so defensive? Maxwell didn't disturb her and left alone. At that time, he didn't want to get into a relationship. He didn't have the time or energy. Until he saw her internship application resume in the company. What was she doing here? An irresponsible woman. During the 3 months that Olivia interned in the company, they still didn't have much interaction. Later, he found out that she had 2 jobs. Did she need money that badly? But what did it have to do with him? However, that day in the coffee shop, he looked at the girl across from him. "Hello, I'm Maxwell. Will you marry me?"